Like we finished the United States, and then you realize you still have a whole nother country that you're about to paddle through.
Hi, I'm Petra Hilleberg. I'm here in Salt Lake City at the Outdoor Retailer Show, and I am here with the crew from Rediscover North America, who are just recently coming back from a pretty epic expedition paddling, canoeing from the Gulf of Mexico through the United States, up through Canada, and all the way up to the Arctic. 245 days. You guys want to quickly introduce yourselves?
My name is Winchell Delano.
I'm John Keaveny.
I'm Luke Kimmis.
Jarrad Moore.
Adam Trigg.
And you're from Minnesota. Most of you guys are.
I'm a Minnesota man.
We're from Iowa. We're the
We're
only
from
two
Iowa,
from
yeah.
Iowa.
I'm also from Minnesota.
So how does a crew from Minnesota and Iowa come up with the idea to go canoeing across the continent for 8 months?
Well, the Minnesotans, we all went to the same high school, did the same outdoors program, Les Voyageurs Inc., and we're just friends and peers growing up. And then also the 4 guys working in Utah for wilderness therapy, the Minnesota boys. We met Jarrad, Iowa guy, at work, and then his buddy Luke was our last recruit for the trip. Last person we had to convince to come along.
Was that hard to convince people to come along on a trip like this?
No, it wasn't, because, you know, the same way we planned it, you know, Adam and I were just kind of looking at a map and coming up with the ideas, and there's a little bit of being naive that's involved. So that gets spread around, you know? So when you tell people that this is what we're going to be doing, it's hard to even imagine what you're going to be experiencing. You know, when they were driving down for the resupply and actually looking at the Mississippi that we were going to have to paddle up, I think it was over the Vicksburg Bridge, if you want to mention like what your response was when you were going over it.
I remember going over the Vicksburg Bridge in Mississippi and looking over at Luke and just thinking to myself, man, this is not going to go as well as we think it is.
Was it never a feeling that that's a little bit of a daunting task when you look at the map?
Yeah, I think it definitely was. Like we finished the United States, and then you realize you still have a whole nother country that you're about to paddle through. So you have 4 months done, but you have 4.5 left.
You know, looking at the Mississippi, we knew that it was going to be a challenging feat, but once we finished that, we were all gung-ho to get to Canada, and then we'd look at our spot locations and you'd just see really how far we've made it, but then how far we still had to go.
Were there ever times that you wanted to just go back home to Minnesota?
I think I had sometimes like that, but I think it's a testament to these guys that in those moments of when we were frustrated, maybe with each other, just with being on trail for that long, that one of us had the wits to say, let's push through today. And we never had a day where we all decided to quit, thankfully.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And on your trip, you obviously had Keron 3 GTs.
Yep.
With you?
Yeah, and the best, you know, in these kind of expeditions, the best thing any piece of gear can do is not get in your way. For the expeditionary piece, like, just because it's not great outside doesn't mean you don't have to move. And so when it's rainy, when it's windy, even on those tough days, like having a tent like that that's dynamic enough to take down the inner tent, leave the outer up, and like pack up our stuff, get ourselves out of the conditions, that's what was great. And that's what, you know, bought us days, weeks. I mean, if you're in a tent that you can't do that with, you're going to lose time drying out your tent or being stuck in it because the weather's going to keep you there.
Yeah. You guys have any good stories?
Yeah, so the one that we were talking about earlier, the Hay Point. So we got in a little bit after sunset, got to the other side, got into camp late, and it was just Mosquito City. And so we threw up the tents, and getting inside those was just like safe haven. Absolutely getting out of the bugs, the elements, everything. It was the best part of that evening, was getting in that tent.
I remember once too, we were windblown for about 3 days and it was just rainy and windy, and we got soreness from sitting too much, but we did not want to get out of the tents at all for those 3 days. And we would scurry from one tent to the other to play cards or do something like that, but we cooked in them, we slept, ate, did everything in the tents for about 3 straight days. We got a little stir crazy by the end of that stop.
We were in Missouri on the Mississippi, and I remember one night I was actually in the tent with John, and we knew that there was a snowstorm coming. We we made sure to have everything dialed, all of the guides set so perfect. And we actually got an ice storm that night. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and hearing it happening. And when I woke up in the morning and I felt the ice that was on the tent, and I got out of the tent and our kitchen tarp was totally bombed, but the tents were just so solid. And it was like 2 inches of ice just over the whole thing.
I think my favorite thing with the tents on our whole trip was when we were in the tundra, a lot of times storms would blow in for, a couple hours, and you could set up the shell and have no inner, and we could go in there, be safe from the weather and the elements, and hang out for an hour or two, and then get back on the river without ever having to set up the whole tent.
Do you guys always have the same people staying in the tents, or did you swap around so that you wouldn't go too?
Yeah, we had a bit of a rotation, so
Yeah.
the same thing with paddling.
Usually whoever was paddling together would sleep together that night in the same tent. So
And you guys are obviously still friends.
no.
Somehow,
just
somehow,
kidding.
yeah.
We all signed contracts to do media afterwards, and as soon as
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
as soon as that statute is up, we're
Yeah, you only got 4 more minutes with me of my contracts.
So last night, you guys won the Best Expedition Award from Canoe and Kayak in some very stiff competition, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that was a nice win, right?
absolutely. I think the most important part is not exactly the awards we win, but the communities that are starting to form around these trips. It's just neat that we have our email folders just full of stuff from people who we met along the way and are just catching up, want us to go back down. And I think it's less about the accolades and it's more about the people the trips have collected at this point. So obviously we're happy to win, but we're happier to be surrounded by the people we met along the way.
Cool. And then we are also, of course, at Hilleberg, we're very excited because we have snagged up Winchell to work in our U.S. office, which we are really excited. Drove all the way from Minnesota.
Just for an interview.
Yes, which was well worth it, right?
Absolutely. We fielded some calls already, so
Good.
come in handy.
So thank you guys for hanging out and for taking the time out of your out of your contracted schedule. It's really good to see you guys, and it was really fun following the expeditions, and really looking forward to seeing the video. So where can people find it?
I believe there'll be a link on our website from Rediscover North America that'll take you right to Vimeo, right to our video when it is released.
We also have a Facebook page, and so we'll keep everybody updated through that too. So if you follow the Facebook page, we'll keep you updated. Yep.
Awesome. And we'll probably put a link also on hilleberg.com.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Petra.
Thanks, Petra.
Thank you. Yeah.